What's new, 802? I'm Becca Hammond, and you're listening to Vermont Talks. Vermont Talks may include graphic or explicit content. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to Vermont Talks. I am here today with Kristian Montgomery of the Winterkill band. The Winterkill band's not with me today, but Kristian Montgomery is here. And it is the 1st of February in 2025, and this is episode 53. So, Kristian Montgomery and the Winterkill band are backroads rock from the Green Mountains of Vermont, but you've also been called Appalachian, I can't pronounce that word.
Appalachian rock.
There you go. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Slightly country, but not really country.
Yeah, not really.
Not really. It tells that nice line where it's not standard country you hear on the radio. You've released 5 albums so far. Lower County Outlaw came out in 2024, and Prophets of the Apocalypse, your 6th album, is coming out on March 15th of this year. And you've been nominated for multiple music awards. Welcome, Kristian.
Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit more about the sound, because we kind of got into it before I hit record, which I always regret doing.
Yeah.
So country soaked rock. I think maybe that was the term I had read on your website.
Cajun laced, country soaked. So my first concert ever was Larry Gatlin and the Gatlin Brothers, and my second was Ozzy Osbourne and Anthrax. So my library of music in my head is very diverse, and I like all the melodies of country music. Just wish that they were played with a Les Paul through a Marshall half stack. So that's a good way to describe it.
Yep. No, your music's very clean. You've been doing this for a while, because the fact that you have 6 albums coming out in 5 years, you said?
It's 5 albums in 4 years. Yeah.
There you go.
So a total of, I've recorded 57 songs in 4 years.
All under the same Kristian Montgomery and the Winterkill band name. That's awesome. And has it been the same band the whole time, or have you swapped people out?
It took a move to Vermont to have a band. And this last album was a collaboration. It wasn't just me. I originally began this form of my career in Hanover, Massachusetts, just south of Boston, with producer Joe Clapp at Ultrasound Studios. And we brought in session people, and I had Jeff Armstrong of the Delta Generators played drums, and had some pretty cool, bigger name, session people come in. So this last record though was a collaboration. It was, I didn't have to write everything. It was cool.
That's always a little nice, depending on your attitude about music.
Yeah.
And how many people are in the band? Because I know obviously you're in, and you play guitar, correct?
I play guitar and I sing, and my drummer's name is James Pesler. He's from Wells, Vermont. And my guitar player, John Clark's from Manchester. And then my bass player, Jake Hill, is from Arlington. So all Vermont guys.
Cool. That is an area of the state I can openly admit I don't know a lot about, because I grew up on the Canadian border. I know it's south of here. What's it like? Is it very rural?
Manchester is a very affluent area. It's kind of stuck in between all of the mountain resorts. A lot of people go there to get married, but it's also a very artistic community. A lot of famous people live there. I can't remember his name now, but he was the gentleman who plays the most interesting man in the world.
Oh, yes.
I've gone to multiple parties with him, and the Southern Vermont Art Center's down there, and it's just, there's a lot of people creating music, and that's where I recorded Lower County Outlaw with Andrew Koss, who moved his studio in Times Square to Manchester during, around the pandemic time. And, he recorded that album, and his client before me was Alicia Keys. And it was kind of like, okay, I'm going to record this extraordinarily, talented Grammy winner, and here's this guy, Chris, who has a horse farm up the road.
Hey, you're a contender for sure. That is pretty amazing, though, that Alicia Keys came to Vermont to record something. I always am fascinated by all the little music studios. They're tucked all over this state, and that's it. They get amazing clients, and it's kind of funny because it's just not... It's in a town that you wouldn't really expect sometimes. We're like, where did they go to eat?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so... talking a little bit more about the albums you've released, which thank you for the albums. I really appreciate them. Do you have a favorite? Do you feel like anything's changed over time?
Well, I would have to say that the first one, the Gravel Church, was probably the most important. And there was a story behind it. I try to warn people in advance that it's not scary. But I went through a nasty divorce. My wife, April, was my high school, childhood sweetheart. First girl I ever kissed, and then should have stayed with her, and then stuff happened. But I went through a terrible divorce, and I was, sitting in my living room, and my former spouse had texted saying, "Hey, I want you to bring the kids over," and I want to bring the kids over. I'm going on vacation. And so, I said no, because I had been ill. I'm a type 1 diabetic, and I had some medical issues. And so I said no. Next thing I know, I'm being served a restraining order. And then I get this restraining order in the mail, or at the door by the police officers. So I'm like, I didn't do anything. I'm going to let the police know that this is a false report. So I told them, and they said, no, we're not going to file anything. Then I found the judge on Facebook, and I sent him a message. Next thing I know, I'm being arrested and thrown in jail for reporting a crime. I went through hell. And then the long and short of it is that, they threw me in jail. It was a mess. My wife and I just kind of we just made it through it. She came and visited me almost every day. And, even got into a fight and got thrown into solitary confinement. And it was a scary time. And I had completely put the arts behind me when I was married to this former person. And so I got out and I wrote the Gravel Church. And I had started working on it actually in this county jail. I wrote most of the songs there, got out and released it, recorded it, released it. And all of a sudden it was boom. Americana Music Magazine calls me up and goes, "Who are you?" And I'm like, and this is an amazing backstory. And how did this happen? And I'm like, well, it was just, this is what happens sometimes. People are angry that you leave them, and they act out. So the cathartic kind of just everything came out, all the emotion. I wrote songs for my kids. I wrote songs for April. Wrote a song for my mother apologizing for being a bad son. And that just kind of turned into this springboard that was, the second album, Prince of Poverty, growing up poor, her, fisherman family, which was my father's trade, so, kind of jumped into the blue collar superhero. I'm going to get everybody to make the money that we're supposed to make, all of us who break our bodies. And, I'm going to start writing about that. And, long story short, it was just, accolades started to come, great reviews, and I'm very grateful for it, but I've kind of never understood it. I've always kind of been like, can't anybody just do this? Doesn't everybody just get thrown in jail for no reason and write a record about it?
Yeah, that's a wild backstory. You're not alone, though. Yeah. That's not a story I've heard similar things from other people. It's pretty difficult when you've been accused of something to defend yourself in
Well,
in the way that feels like you should just be able to tell people that it's bullshit.
Yeah, well, the problem was that everybody knew it was bullshit. Everybody knew that it was a complete fabrication. Everybody knew that she was just really angry. But one of my problems is that when I go all in on something, I go all in. And when I decided I was getting divorced, I researched. I found that, I knew guys always got the short end of the stick. And so I started lobbying for family court reform to say, hey, if people got divorced, wouldn't it make sense if like dad had the kids half the time, mom had the kids half the time, and you just let bygones be bygones? Wouldn't that just be better for everybody? And it's just not good for the lawyers because they don't make as much money. So
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yep.
And just the court systems and just the whole system, the way it works is so complicated and confusing and painful.
Yeah.
And that's it. When something happens, they decide they kind of, it's supposed to be innocence before you're proven guilty, right? But that's not how society works.
It is not. It's not at all. So
yeah, that's unfortunate. But the honesty and the creativity that you were able to express, that's why not everyone can do it. A lot of people can't be honest and just open, especially with emotions, right? And that's what makes good music. And it sounds like it was very, like you said, cathartic, like just get it out there.
It was interesting too, like to be suddenly thrown into a situation like that, like being a guy who, I was fun when I was a kid, and I got into I disappointed my parents once or twice, but I'd never been in a situation like that. And the people that I met heroin addicts who became heroin addicts because they were, molested, or something terrible happened to them. All of these things that made them who they were. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, it's not a problem with this guy. It's a problem with the village. Like, we didn't take care of him, and that's on us. And this poor guy was one of this kid, Chris Nemitz. He was a heroin addict. He had a terrible, terrible life. And he got out shortly after me and was found dead in a field in a tent by the airport in Rhode Island. He had overdosed. He was probably one of the most talented carpenters I've ever talked to. Super smart dude. Those people, there's a lot of people that were breaking worse than they were broken before they went in.
Yeah.
And it needs to get fixed.
Oh, yeah. And so much of it isn't. The amount of people I know, Vermont got hit really hard with the whole opiate epidemic thing, where someone got in a car accident. That's usually where it started. Someone got in a car accident, someone hurt themselves.
Yep.
Doctors gave them a bunch of drugs, and then it became, they don't work anymore. Like, I know a guy who shot himself and took an axe to his own leg to get more opiates. Oh. And, like, he was the nicest person. So that's a talented person, smart guy. And it just breaks lives, and that's it. They end up in the system, right? Because whatever drove them there is illegal, and then all of a sudden and then they're guilty, all right. They're done. The society has judged them, and now they're in the pit, and it's just the attitude that we hold towards people, which is so insane. Because if you have a nice white collar, you can get away with, ripping off millions. But if you're a poor person and you steal from a store, then you're in jail for a really long time.
Yep.
Yep. No, justice isn't quite justicing.
No, it's not.
The way it should. So I feel for you. I'm sorry that you had to live through that.
My producer said something, he was like, I'm really sorry you had to go through that, but I'm so glad that this came out of it. It was, He was pretty psyched, and probably his name's Joe Clapp, and he's just, if I had to say that I had like the biggest influence in music, it would be him and my former bass player Dave Leach, who were both producers of mine at one time or another, and just super talented dudes.
Yep.
They get me.
Hey, you've got to make lemonade out of lemons. That whole concept. No, music is so powerful too for that connection, right? Because a lot of people who heard your music probably said, I hear myself. I hear something in my own life being expressed. That's why it means so much, right? But a lot of people can't express that. Okay, so you took me through the first two albums.
Yeah. Okay.
Carry on if you'd like.
All right. So after Prince of Poverty came out, I got nominated for the Boston Music Awards, and it kind of came out of the blue, and it was really cool because I'm not a younger musician. I wouldn't call myself an older musician, but I had been nominated for the music awards when I was in my 20s in Boston, and it was for best vocalist or something like that. And I was with a band called Bone Dry System, who, guys I still long to create music with. And I got, all of a sudden, I'm like, holy shit, like I'm back to kind of where I started again, or back where I left off. And then I got nominated for the New England Music Awards. And I was like, all right, maybe we're on to something. So I'm going to make the investment and record another album. And so I'd been listening to like a lot of really old time rock and roll, a lot of Buddy Holly, Chubby Checker and all sorts of, cooler, just older music. And
that was all the 50s, right?
Yeah,
which is the greatest. I love 50s
right.
rock as well.
Chuck Berry. And I mean, so at the same time, my daughter Taylor was getting married to a woman, and I was thinking about it in putting everything in perspective because it was so cool. Because her wife Sydney came to my house and said, "Dad, can I marry your daughter?" And I was like, "Oh, yes." She's hilarious. She should be a comedian. She's so funny. And I was thinking, like, how was this ever wrong? And it's weird because we're back in this era of, we were so close to everybody saying live and let live. And then the election happened and it's like, boom, back to like square one. But Heaven for Heretics was all about these people who lived on the periphery, who were all of a sudden just invited back, into the mainstream to say, hey, we're all in this together. To quote Bob Marley, one love, we're all here. We were all at that point where we were about to say, like, what if this life is just about love? What if that's all it's about? What if all it's about is just being nice to each other and being kind and it just being about love? And then boom, this crap. But A Heaven for Heretics was kind of like that welcoming album of like, hey, listen, come on, everybody in the pool. We're just going to have fun. And it was, the music kind of represented that. It was just about these songs, I was writing these songs that were just fun, Nice. But then, so at that point, my wife and I, were living on Cape Cod and we had a boat and COVID hit and, COVID was kind of in its prime. The first 3 albums were kind of recorded under that COVID umbrella. I mean, the first record I was like taking my mask off to sing. But the April and I decided we needed to get away from the crazy people that had inspired me to create music. So we came to Vermont and we bought a house in Wallingford and, it started off, nice and quiet. And then she got goats and then chickens and ducks. And now we have horses.
Less quiet.
and then in her infinite wisdom, she says, we should foster children. And then we started taking in foster kids, and trying to, repair damaged people. Right now we have this amazing 6-year-old autistic boy who has become like, my shadow. And he's the coolest little dude. But back to music.
That's really wonderful, and thank you, because my gosh, the amount of kids in those systems and the amount of people that brush over them.
Yes, no, I hear you. So I met Andrew Koss in Manchester through my guitar player, John, who John was an electrician. I'm a plumber by trade. And we were working on a condo units together. And, John said, "Oh, you should meet my friend Andrew." And, I got to meet him. And, he's a very, very successful man. And he has worked with a lot of, high-end talent, A-listers. And I went over to his house and we jammed a couple of times. And then, I had been playing with a bunch of bluegrass guys up here when I first moved up here, and I was thinking, God, I just can't do this. I can't do this. Like I'm Irish, Scottish, and Danish, and it's in my blood to do this, but it's just not working for me.
Right. Hey,
some
music is not in your blood, right?
It's
whether it feels like it should be or not.
I bought a banjo, and I just found that if you are not an excellent banjo player, banjo sounds funny.
Oh yeah, the rolls are there's a lot of practice.
You have to. You're either excellent, or you should just be playing in your room by yourself.
And it's so loud.
It's so loud.
And it's a lot of practice.
So we had a cool little jam thing going on. I started playing out. I originally called it Kristian Montgomery and the Winterkill Band with me and these guys from the area who all played bluegrass. And then I met John, and John is a big Guns N' Roses and Soundgarden guy. And we immediately hit it off. We went to Andrew's, and Andrew said, I want to record an album with you. And I was like, I can't afford you. Like, look at all this equipment. And he was like, no. We'll work something out. I'll just play drums on it, and we'll call it, that'll be that.
Nice.
So he played drums and on Lower County Outlaw, and produced it, played some guitar on it, keys and all that. I mean, he's a multi-instrumental guy. He was saying, like, meanwhile, he has his studio, then he has a house next to it that says artist residence, where the artists come and stay while they're working with him.
Oh, that's cool. Right. Well, you kind of need it if you're in the middle of nowhere.
Right. And, he'd said, the guy who mixed Peter Gabriel's So is staying next door. He's been doing some work here. And I'm like Peter Gabriel's like, that's my like all-time idol. So anyway, that album immediately got some accolades, and I got nominated for the Music Awards in Nashville, and then at the in Saratoga, the Listen Up Music Awards.
Yeah, cool.
And then started working on the EP with Vincent Freeman at the Underground Studios in Randolph, Vermont.
Oh, yep, that's cool. Nice.
And boom, we just got nominated for Americana Act of the Year and Country Artist of the Year, or whatever, favorite country artist at Listen Up in, it's going to be at the Co-Host Music Hall this year. I think that's in Troy.
Cool.
So that's really where the story stops for the moment. We've already started working on new stuff and trying to put together shows for the summer.
Yeah.
I've been desperately trying to break into the Burlington scene, with no luck. I'm trying to find compatible acts to jump in with.
Yeah. We should talk off air because I feel like I know people who might go well with what you're playing.
I've become great friends with Tim Lewis, who works at WKLM.
Yep.
And he's been such a positive, plays the song and then says, "Thank you for making this song, Kristian." I'm like, thank you for playing it. Like,
he's a great guy. That's great that you've met him. We should talk more because that's it. I could see you playing at Muddy Waters for sure. There's a lot of places up here and a zillion bands that are playing out. There's littler venues too. The Cellar and Desposito are two that I think are probably easier to wedge your foot into if you're trying to book shows. Yeah. That's just my guess. But now I know besides not Muddy Waters, what am I thinking of? Nectar's. Muddy Waters is like next to Nectar's. Yeah. Nectar's is obviously really a big deal. But they just started playing shows at, of course, the pizza joint that's right on the corner of Church and Main,
Yep.
which of course is now escaping my brain. It's going to come to me in 5 minutes, but
Cool.
I can see it. We'll get you in higher ground soon. I'm honestly kind of shocked that you haven't played up here more because you're clearly being recognized. People are connecting with your music, and you've already produced so much music. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, it's with our guys, like, everybody in my band is a really blue collar, guy. And so, when we try to get shows, they're like, all right, as long as we're not losing money, we can do it. And oftentimes I'll be like, guys, I got offered the show. It's a Saturday night, and we're gonna lose money. they're like, oh,
right,
all right, just this last one. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, because is it about a 2-hour drive?
Hour and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, from my house.
Right. And that's a stretch, though. Yeah. Like, that's it. And when you're in the middle of nowhere, it's great for recording studios, but it's hard if you need to drive anywhere to actually have the gig, because lugging all the gear, the actual drive itself, when gas is expensive, there's a lot of time to go into that.
When I grew up south of Boston, most of my shows were in the city, so I was very used to doing an hour and a half drive into the city,
right,
and then an hour and a half out. And city driving is a lot different and a lot, in my personal opinion, less dangerous, because the car seems to kind of remember the way. Up here, you're avoiding different creatures, steep drops right off the road.
Right.
Like, there's just no room for error.
It not only does it go right and left, but it goes up and down,
right.
And there's woods everywhere.
There's
which
woods.
Means there's no visibility.
There's deer. I drove back from Johnsburg, New York one night, and I must have barely missed a dozen deer.
Yeah, because that's it. They stand in a herd in the road right around a corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, that's it. And if you're someone who lives out there, I know, because coming to Burlington for me was a big deal. And we're not a big city, but that was as big as it got. And that was like a once every 3 month kind of thing. We just didn't do it. You kind of just stuck around where you were. It's hard to get good bookings. I can appreciate that. It's also hard to just organize and bring people. And do you have if you don't have like a good van to move everything, then everyone's got their own car full of stuff.
Yep.
I can appreciate the struggle.
Yeah.
So where did you play last year, and what kind of shows do you like booking? Like, do you play music? Sorry, what am I thinking of? Of course, outdoor shows.
Yeah.
Festivals. That's what I'm thinking of.
Well, last year, I became associated I became friends with a couple of people at this online radio show called Radio X in Troy. One of the gentlemen, Vito Cicerelli, who was a very well-known radio personality, and he was a musician in his younger years. He just liked my music, and he started helping me find shows. So, I played Rock on the River in Troy, New York. He's booked us in a couple of places. We played at an apple orchard, but it was probably one of the better paying gigs that we had over the summer. Last year, Greg Bell booked me to play the Eastbound Throwdown, which is a huge annual event that the band Eastbound Jesus does in Salem, New York. And it's a huge kind of, Woodstocky kind of vibe. And thousands of people. That was kind of like our real introduction to the scene. And, first 2 songs we came out, played, and I said, guys, we're going to play those 2 songs and we're going to wait, and see the reaction we get, because, a lot of the other bands were bluegrassy, countryer. And our first 2 songs were real face melters, and we waited after we were done, and all of a sudden the applause came, and we were like, all right. They don't hate us. This is good.
Right.
So let's keep going. But I've done a ton of podcasts. I've done a bunch of singer-songwriter showcases for different production companies and stuff like that. And but this summer, I know we're going to go back to New York quite a bit, Saratoga. I'll be in Boston in June. I'm going to Europe in August. I'm booked a couple of shows over there. Cool story. My cousin Sarah called me from Copenhagen. She manages a vinyl record store, used record store in downtown.
Cool.
And she goes, "Kristian, you're on the radio." And I'm like, "Thanks for playing me." And she's like, "No, you're on the radio." And they were playing me on the rock station in downtown Copenhagen.
That's really cool.
And I was like, wow. So, I'd thrown a couple of bucks at a radio promoter to say, hey, where do you think this song would fit? And he sent it to a bunch of people, and every one of them liked it. So I thought that was pretty wild that, that's where half of me's from. That's my dad's country. And it was kind of cool to get that kind of like homegrown, local love.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
And that means it's connecting with people, right?
Yeah.
And it means it's good, or else they wouldn't.
Yeah. I mean, it was great. They talked about it. They talked about the album and said he's coming into the studio in August, and, he's a son of Denmark. And he's coming home. It was nice. So,
that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. No, I really enjoy your type of music. But I have such a hard time putting my finger on it because I don't like saying country because it puts you in that bucket that's so inaccurate.
Yeah.
And so many people have snooty attitudes about country. If you're not someone who enjoys bluegrass and really likes country, and I say country, they all go, ugh.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's rock.
It's Eric Sager from the New Hampshire Hippo. He's a writer, journalist. He coined the phrase Appalachian rock. He goes, "Kristian, you are the founder of Appalachian rock." And I recently sent him the new EP, and he said, "To say that you are the next Tom Petty is an understatement." And I just went, wow.
Oh, that's a huge compliment.
You're my new best friend.
Right. Well, that's it. Tom Petty is a closer definition, but you don't want to just say you sound like Tom Petty because you don't sound like Tom Petty.
I don't sound like Tom Petty.
You sound similar, though. Like there's the underlying genre. It's a little. It's so American sounding. Yeah. I don't quite know how to put my finger on it, but I always think of like Skinner. Yeah. And it was Southern rock. That's what they called it, but it felt a little country.
We've got some government mule comparison. Leaving Texas, people have said it's very Foo Fightery. It's very, very Dave Grohl-y.
Yeah, it's got rock. It's 100% a rock flavor of some sort.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. And you don't have an accent that's pronounced in any way, shape, or form. I feel like when you come from certain regions, right? Southern rock came from their southern accent more than anything. There's a band, I don't know if you've ever heard of Pine Grove, but they're out of, I want to say, the Tennessee area. Yeah. And like that flavors their rock in a certain way. It just gives it this little extra spice.
Yeah.
It's interesting because you don't quite have an accent, and you're not from Appalachia.
No. So, I've moved around a lot. I was born in Florida, and, to a Danish father and two very Danish grandparents. His parents spoke good English, but the accent was like, it was there. But my mom, she's Boston, so like, April will tell you when I get up in the morning, I'm like, April, it's freaking cold. Like,
you can hear the Boston when you said that.
And, but, we also, she's from Cape Cod, south of Boston, and they kind of have their own little accent. And I'd lived there too. And so you've got the Boston Danish, it's,
it all balances out, though. You sound very American.
Florida, a little southern there, too. But it's, I don't know. I managed to. Nobody tells me I sound funny, so.
No, you don't. That's it. It's interesting to hear that you're half Dutch. Because when you start. Danish. Sorry. Because when you started actually speaking, when you talked in your cousin's accent, it's very obvious that you can speak like that.
Yeah. Oh, it's cool. I work as an engineer for a hospital, and we hired new vice president who's Danish, and he walks up to me and he's like, "Hello, my name's Eric." And I went, "Hi, hella Kristian, hvordan har du det?" And he was like, and I'm like, "They told me you were Danish." He's like, "Yeah, I'm Danish. I don't speak Danish." And I was like, "Oh, geez, who doesn't speak Danish if you're Danish?" But he,
right, so the second, you got to go 2 generations deep.
Yeah.
You start losing it.
Yeah. So, it's a prideful thing. I mean, I like the fact that my father's got the Viking ancestry, and it's kind of cool.
No, it's definitely really cool. Did I read that? Because you said he was a fisherman.
Yeah.
But you've been like on the water a lot. It seems like 'cause you had a boat as well. So
yeah, I mean,
tell me about it. I always am fascinated by ships because we're so landlocked here. Our ships are pretty small.
When I was young, I mean, one of my first jobs was working on a long lining ship. Fishing for swordfish. I've worked on my dad's cod fishing boat. I worked with my grandfather lobster fishing. And April's father was formerly had his own boat, and he had a lobster fishing business, and we spent quite a bit of time out at sea. So yeah, it's I don't know, it's just a very natural place, and being a Dane too, it's cool because they say that Christ doesn't exist at sea, but so you have Thor on the water and then you have Christ on land, and it's kind of cool. I get all into the pagan ancestry, and I'm covered in this. Was the logo on my first boat ever when I was 13. So, I don't know.
Cool. Do you still have a boat?
No. Now we have horses.
Is it weird being in the middle of, land?
No. No, I like it. We have 2 horses, and we ride up the mountains, and, the big garden. We're lucky. We got a 200-year-old farm that was right in between the Taconic and the Green Mountains, and right on the Otter Creek going through, Vermont. And we have the cows in the backyard, and then we have our horses, and it's so much safer. I was telling April, I mean, I was out on a trip. It was a party boat for a company I was working for. We were having a party and striper fishing, and I had a great white shark come up and take a striped bass right out of my hand like a dog taking a treat. It just kind of came up, went bloop, boom, took it and ran, and I was like, it's time to move to the mountains.
Yeah, that's pretty terrifying, to say the least. Fish freak me out. Big fish, I couldn't do it. I can't imagine catching a swordfish. How big? Yeah. How big is a swordfish? That's a pretty big fish, right?
They're like 12 feet long.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I'd like that. I don't like the sturgeons in the lake up here.
Yeah.
It's really cool though. Being a waterman, I've heard that phrase. We don't use it in Burlington because our lake isn't big enough for that. But that's incredibly cool. That's such an interesting skill set. Do you think is there music associated with being on a boat? Is that a thing? Because I don't know of it.
You got to watch Jaws.
Yes, I have seen. Jaws,
all of the old Irish, most of the old Irish folk songs are usually start with someone coming back from sea, or most of the old Celtic sea shanty songs, which I sang, quite a few of as a boy. For tips at pubs and stuff. It's, they're most of the, there's a band from Denmark called Nephew, and they have a specific song, it's Vesta, come on me play my guy, which means it's like they're singing to the fjord, to the bay.
Cool.
They're, it's, they're a great band. When they sing in English, it's embarrassing, but when they sing in Danish, it's great.
Hey, I mean, if I sang in any other language, it would be god awful. So, understandable, right?
Yeah. But the Danish name for farmer is landman, landman.
Interesting. That's interesting. Makes sense.
Which is, that's me now. Now I'm a landman. So
that's really cool. I love the rural life in Vermont. Someday I hope to have animals again and just be. It's so quiet and peaceful, and
it is
good for creativity. I'm sure being in, well, I've been in the city a bit compared to that area, and it's not as good for making music.
No.
Your neighbors bang on your walls unless you've got a house, which is not cheap in this area. So a lot of musicians are living in apartments, and it is not conducive to making a band, I can say. So I miss the peace and tranquility and freedom of expression being out there. Because you can scream and no one really cares usually in those areas.
Yep. I mean, it is nice. It's quiet and, it's kind of cool to live in an area where you've only got X amount of neighbors. Like, them all. It's not like the city where you'll never meet everybody,
Yeah. So are all of you said your bandmates are all in different towns, but they're all fairly close.
Yeah, they're all
That's
same
good.
area. Yep.
Yeah, that's really convenient. That's it. It's so hard when it's snowing out and icy or whatever to actually get everybody together.
Yeah.
You just said you were at the Old Post, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be a fantastic place for you to play. I bet they would eat your music up there.
Yeah, all 6 of them.
Oh, is it dead tonight? Oh,
yeah,
it gets bumping, though. Did you get to see out back? We're just going off on the Old Post. I like to go off on random tangents on this show, so don't worry. We'll get back to talking about you. But the Old Post has a very big stage out back, actually, with all sorts of lights set up. Like, it's actually a very professional stage for being the Old Post.
Yeah.
And they do battles of the band and stuff in the summer.
Cool.
Yeah, they have, I think it's like every week they have a band in there, but then they do a very official battle of the bands with like multi-weeks, and they narrow it down and someone wins. So
nice.
No, and that, I think they would really, really, really enjoy your music there, because that's it. The few bands I've seen are kind of towing the line of this. It's a little bit country rock, but not not full country. So I could definitely see you playing there. It's a funky spot. That's it. I've been there when it's totally dead, and I've been there when I'm like, oh my God, you can't even hardly walk around in this place. So it comes and goes.
We've got mixed in with a lot of different jam bands. But we're very far from that. Like I do enjoy the phrase, well, our songs are so good, we make them 12 minutes long, and I'm like, that's cool and all. We just did, we're, it seemed, I was telling my bass player, Jake, I'm like, Jake, it's like, as soon as people start bouncing, our songs are over. and he's like, yeah, they're used to those guys.
Well, that's it. Yeah. If you play with the jam bands, they're expecting it to last 10 minutes.
Yeah. But
that's funny. There's a lot of jam bands around town.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of big pot smoking,
Hey, I mean, Fish came from Burlington, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All the love to the jam bands. It's not my favorite, though.
Yeah.
I don't have pure love for the jam bands, because there's a certain point where I'm a bass player, and I just feel for the bass player. I'm like, you've been playing the same 4 notes over and over and over for so long, man.
Yeah.
They're fun, though. We got to get you hooked up with some of these other country rock bands around town, though. They're here. They're around.
That's
promise
good.
you.
It's nice to know, because I'm looking for them.
That's it. Vermont has such a massive music scene. It's honestly hard to narrow it down, because there's got to be like thousands of bands. For there being such a small population in this state, I'm always shocked by how many bands there actually are, because everyone can tell me a different band from somewhere around that I haven't heard of, and I'm actively like trying to find bands. So it's kind of amazing that you could probably list off 6 bands I've never heard of. Every band I talk to can do the same thing, and they're all locals. Yeah. And so many of them are so talented. But it's like very hard to find people in certain niches, because there's so many.
There is, like, one of the things that I've found that's changed. there used to be such a huge amount of people who were in search of new music. Like they were at clubs on a regular basis, sitting at a bar, waiting for the next big thing to play in front of them, so they could say, "I remember when they played for just me and the bartender," and now look at them. It seems as though that's kind of past. Like we got to have, especially in these times, there's got to be a renaissance. There's got to be a huge upheaval of creativity to fight back against all of the negative that's going on in the world. That's the only way. The only way we're going to survive this is by creating beautiful things to put up against the darkness. And
yes,
so we got to get people to go out. We got to get people to leave their homes. Like COVID did such a number on us. Get out, go see the world, travel.
The cell phone addiction
is
killing me. Mm-hmm. I think it's killing everybody. We don't want to admit it because we're all adults, right?
Yeah, but we do it.
And it's not like young or old, because I know baby boomers just as addicted to their cell phone as as the kids are. So we've all got to kind of admit it to ourselves, right? Admitting that we have a problem is the first step, because I'm just as addicted as everyone else.
Yeah.
But that stupid cell phone is keeping us from community. Like, we really need to come out and see our local musicians play and stop looking at our stupid phone.
Exactly. I need to be able to feed off of the crowd. I need to see the reaction. I want to have that face-to-face experience instead of having the assholes from Submit Hub tell me, "I really love your song, but I just don't think there's this one part that's just not right for my playlist." Or
what?
And I can't, I just released Leaving Texas, the first single off of my EP. And
yes, today. Congrats.
Today.
It's awesome.
It dropped today. I spent $50 on Submit Hub to send it out to like 20 curators, all of whom told me the production, I've only got like 4 responses so far, but it's enough for April to hear me in the car go, "Fucking dick." What does he mean? He loves it, but it's just not right. What does that mean? It's like when you get broken up with and told it's not you, it's me. It's like,
it's because they want the radio friendly bullshit that's the peddling to the masses.
It's not
trash.
Katy Perry.
Exactly.
Like it just drives me up a wall. And then, with the cell phone addiction, I'll April will wake me up. "What are you doing?" Or I'll wake her up. "What are you doing?" Just checking my streams. I want to just see. I just released a single. You'd think somebody would freaking listen to it.
Right. Well, that's the thing, is that we all got the world has changed so much in 20 years. YouTube used to be my favorite thing in the world. So I graduated high school in 2011. I found so much music on the old YouTube where Bo-Yo got famous. These kids that were so talented, and these just different bands. And you just you'd play one song and it'd be like, "Here's 16 other songs that are amazing." And you would just find small musicians that you connected with so wonderfully. And like that, you're stacked against that. It's really hard for you to actually connect with people because they've changed the algorithms. It's pushing the top musicians that are already famous. It's playing the same song 6 times. Yeah. It's broken that like find a new person thing that used to be what we went to the cell phone for, was community. Yeah. Let me find my friends. What are they doing today?
Right. And if we looked at it from a sociologist's point of view, or even an economic point of view, it seems as though the people whose music is being heard, that is the prominent, in your face commercial music, are the sons and daughters of the children of privilege. It's
always.
It's like, "Hey, our son is too stupid to take over the family business. Let's get him a guitar." It's like, you can only hear Miley Cyrus's voice so many times before you say, like, the only reason this is happening is because she's got the money to market it.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's it. Taylor Swift's daddy bought the record company, right? Like, that's literally how anyone knows her name is the bought and paid for.
Pretty sure he bought the Kansas City Chiefs, too. So.
Probably. Well, yeah, that's it. She drives me nuts of all of them. Like, there's a lot of them where I'm like, God, you just bought your way into the music scene.
I've called her Satan Piss for the majority of the time that she's been a musician. You know.
Well, it just is so not coming from a place of natural talent and just coming from a place of catering to the pop, whatever they can sell in the moment, right?
Yeah.
Like, whatever it is. Because they literally, if people forget this, but they used to release every one of her songs as a pop song and a country song because they weren't sure which market they were really going to shove her into.
Yep.
And they did that for the first, 2 albums. And they had this whole, she's so misunderstood. Like, no, she's not. Are you kidding me? She's like 5'10", beautiful, blonde, plays 3 chords badly. Mm-hmm. And her range is 5 notes wide. Like, there's so many more talented people whose daddy can't buy them a record store.
Yeah, I agree.
But that's it. And and it wasn't like she was a musician who happened to be a pop artist. She was created to fit that mold of whatever was radio friendly, right? The AABA, CA, like whatever the format is that she writes every single damn song to. It was created, and it's not real music.
No, if you get a chance, check out this artist named Monty, MOTNYXON, Monty Zahn. He's my nephew. He was just out in L.A. He came home. He just had a son, whom he named Silas Fox Montgomery. I was like,
Amazing.
Dude, that's a cool name.
Amazing. I love the name Silas.
Yeah. I told him, I'm like, dude, his nickname's going to be Sly Fox.
He's like, yeah.
But he's my nephew makes me look like an amateur. He's such a talented, we did melody on top of some like you hear something different in every one of his songs. And he played the Whiskey Go-Go to a sold out crowd. And he kind of he just moved back from Los Angeles with his girlfriend, and they moved to Florida, and had their son. And, he's of the same frame of mind as me. He's like, dude, I couldn't give anybody money. He's like, I couldn't pay to get to that next level. I couldn't, they want you to pay to get there. He's like, it has nothing to do with talent. Yeah. It's got all to do with dollars and cents. And he's, he was really, wrapped up in that scene. It ate him up a little bit, that he was so frustrated with it. He was like, listen, I'm writing these beautiful songs. My brother, his father had passed away, who was another, he got hurt, got on opioids, and then got clean, and he passed from brain cancer, maybe a year and a half later. That set my nephew Logan off on this songwriting. Just, it was just amazing stuff that he was doing. So it's a very frustrating thing. It's very frustrating to be a blue collar, hey, I'm down here. And at the same time being a Dane who says I'm 6'2", 240 pounds, and I could take your stuff if I wanted to. But I'd rather you just buy the song off of me, and we don't have to go that route. But it's very frustrating.
I do think things are changing though, because everyone. It's funny, the musicians I talk to over time, we end up talking about the same stuff, and right now everyone's talking about grassroots community.
Yeah.
The tech billionaires, and I'm not trying to make this political, but the tech billionaires, freaking Ticketmaster. Yeah. Ruined the music scene, and we need to get back to communicating directly with each other instead of posting on Facebook and expecting your friends to see it, because they won't. Right. They won't see it. They've stacked the algorithms so that even your best buddies won't see your stuff. Like, you've already got website, right?
Yeah.
Did you have a newsletter to send people on your website?
I haven't, but I have been in conversations with my manager about tech and about marketing in the way that things work now. And how in the algorithms work, but also like, he'll send me messages and saying stop sending out individual emails. He'll say you have to BCC because you have more of a chance of those emails getting through and not in the spam box if you do it this way, and this way. And I'm like, God, this is so complicated.
Yes.
Yes,
it is. That's it. They have stacked literally everything against you to the point where they aren't teaching computer science kids how to set up web servers. This one's killing me. They're telling you to use Amazon. Use a third party. They won't teach a kid learning how to set up computers, how to set up a freaking website.
Yeah.
Like, is this the world we're heading to? Because I think we all should have our own communication streams, but freaking Gmail's filtering you out.
for Instagram and Facebook, they have all of these rules and regulations where, my new song dropped. I can share it on my stories.
Yeah.
And I can share it to X amount of my friends on a me-to-you basis.
Yeah.
Until they think it's spam.
Yes.
And then they shut you off. So it's like, hey, the first 10 got through, but I've got 5,000 friends that don't know that I just released it.
Exactly. And Facebook openly admitted that the way their algorithm works is you only get to see 30 of your friends' posts.
Yeah.
30 people. So if you're friends with 5,000 people, it's usually the 30 most recent friends are actually seeing your stuff. Mm-hmm. So they've stacked it where you have to pay them. You have to pay them a promotion,
right?
So that
in order to
all of your friends might see it. Like they might. That's not even a guarantee that all your friends will see it. They want $5-10 for that post to actually get seen by the people you thought were your community.
Yeah. So I've got 5,000 friends, and I spent $80 on an ad that told me that I could get between 200 to 1,000 other people to see it. No guarantee. It's you give us that $80 and we're going to tell you that you could get 200 people to see it, up to 1,000.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there, let's hope for the best, but just send us your money. It's like, I've never, that business model wouldn't work anywhere else in the real world.
Oh, no. And that's the thing is everyone thinks we're connected because we're friends. Yep. But it's starting to really bug me. I'm like, we communicate every day. Some of my best friends, where I'll even go in and be like, favorite them. And then I go look at their page and I'm like, I haven't seen any of this. Yeah. And like, it's stuff that I'm like, I kind of wish I'd seen some of this. Like, I'm not trying to be a bad friend and like not acknowledge stuff going on in your life, but it's stacked against you. It's so sad because MySpace was the original, right? And we all saw only our friends. It wasn't advertising. It wasn't stupid memes from stupid groups, from stupid pages that you don't even follow, which is basically what it's devolved into. So I feel like we need to like, okay, here's my event, here's my band, here's my new single I just released, and you gotta separate it from the stupid tech giants. And that's where the email comes in, because I think email will survive, but I think Facebook is dying and Instagram is dying and all of these platform models. We're not stupid. We know our friends can't see our stuff. We're all getting really annoyed with it, and then you don't see your friends' stuff. Not only can they not see you.
It seems like people are moving over to Blue Sky.
Yeah,
that's been a big one, and that's been driven more by politics, I think. But it's and which is great. I mean, I suppose creating these worlds, like, I can only equate it to like when my kids would play Minecraft and they'd piss me off. And so I would, like, when they weren't paying attention, go in and just totally ruin the world they made. And they'd be so upset at me. Oh, my God, it's gone. And then I'd be like, you'll just have to build another one, and just don't swear at your brother next time, and you won't have your world, destroyed in front of you.
I bet they learned quickly too, because Minecraft mattered, right?
Oh, it was amazing how that became such a thing, and they'd get so upset. Like, all right, well, you're not going to swear at your grandmother again, right? Okay, well.
It's a great punishment. But we build these weird little societies. But when you joined Facebook, and I think every single person in the world who has a Facebook, you joined it because your friends were on it.
Yep.
That's why social media existed in the first place. But it's gotten to the point, because I'm a software engineer, so this stuff drives me insane, where I'm scrolling and I start counting the ads. I count the things I'm not following. I count the ads. And just the suggested crap. And it's far outnumbering. Like, just the ads and the bullshit is far outnumbering anything my friends post. And then even if I scroll forever, I'll never see some of these posts. And the amount of bands whose posts are an event that I see a week after it happened. Yeah. And it makes me want to cry because I would have gone.
Yeah.
I would. Why are they doing this to us, right? Like, what the hell's the point of being on Facebook if I can't even see my friends' posts, which were the only reason I was on Facebook, is to keep track of my friends in bands.
Yep.
That I keep telling my friends in bands, I'm like, I don't see your stuff until after a week. Like, something's breaking down in our communication, because I am a fan, right? I want to see it. And I'm in the dark.
Oh, I hear you. I mean, I have, I've had friends who have hit me up and said, "Hey, I hear you're nominated for the awards." And I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Oh, I'm totally going to vote for you." I'm like, "Yeah, voting's over. You can't vote anymore." And I didn't win. Thanks. I lost by one vote.
I hope that's not true, because that's terrible.
No, but I mean, that's what I tell them. It's I think it's true. We have to start, kind of following and paying attention to the things that we find to be important. I mean, the politics of, today, being a Dane, and with all of the back and forth between the U.S. government and the Danish government and Greenland and all this stuff.
Oh, God, it's so heartbreaking.
I pay attention to all of the updates and whatnot. And, I don't know if anybody else has called him this yet, and it would be great if it started on your show, but we talked quite a bit in Denmark about President Yamtits. And he, it seems as though people have caught on to that. I'm like, I've seen a couple of other people post about President Yamtits, and it's
like a very accurate name.
It's an extraordinarily accurate name. And, but for me, like, I stay in touch with my family over in Europe, and they're,
right, of course.
And they're always sending me messages saying, "Are you okay? Do you need us to send a boat? Are you going to be all right? What's going on?"
No, they're actively concerned, and we are blind to it. It's nice that you have family connection, because they're keeping you updated. But my God, the ads in Europe about, like, feed the starving kids in America.
Yeah.
To really put it in perspective, how the rest of the world sees us is shocking.
Yeah. I mean, we're a country that's slowly but surely becoming those with and those without, and it's it's sad. It's and my family lived through the occupation of Europe. My Uncle Ankerfeld went into the concentration camps, 300 pounds, came out less than 100, and there's so many similarities that people create memes to, like, blow off. Like, it's so funny. They're posting these Hitler-esque memes about the president and all this stuff, and I'm like, you guys don't understand how close we are to that actually being a reality. Like, that's not. You're not far off. Like, started with the immigrants and the homosexuals last time.
Yep.
Who's he going after next?
Right.
So.
Right. Because that's it. It's so scary. If you actually are a student of history, to pay any attention. Because I think America fell into complacency, at least from my perspective. Everyone had this, I don't like politics. I don't want to talk about politics. I don't want to. Never mind. Let's not. Everyone's so emotional. You're all so polarized. And it's like, are you paying attention? Because I don't think you are, because if you were, you'd probably have an opinion and not like politics.
Right. I mean, I get a lot of guff over writing political songs. I have a song called American Fire. The first line is, "The president's a fucking liar." And it's got banjo.
Nice.
I didn't play it. It wasn't me. It was an actual banjo player who was good. But writing songs, political songs, it's a great way to kind of get the word out. It's also a great way to get depressed too, when you go, man, I wrote this great song about politics. It's right in your face, speaking truth to power. It's catchy, it's hooky, it's got great lyrics, and it's got 5 plays on Spotify.
Yeah.
It's like...
Right. Well, I honestly think they're stacking that against you. Because I know how in-depth the AI is and how in-depth the algorithms are and the subdivisions of who they can target with what.
Yeah.
They know exactly what's in the music, and they don't really want other people seeing it. That's the thing, is my friends started posting about Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And I usually see every one of her posts. And I happened to type his name in because I was wondering if I had suddenly accidentally started following him. Everyone was saying, oh my God, I'm suddenly following Trump. So I'm like, oh my God, am I? Had to check. And it popped up with about 20 posts of hers that I hadn't seen. And it's like weeks of it. And I'm like, this is really, really cringy. Like, because that's it. I specifically follow her. Everything she posts, I pretty much react to because she's a good friend of mine. Like, what the hell? So they know. I swear to God, they know when you're being political, and they don't want anyone to see it because, that doesn't sell ads or whatever they're trying to target you with, the Temu crap.
Yeah.
That they want to sell you. That's the whole point now, right? It's to sell you something.
Right.
Right. So they're limiting it.
I think it would be good of everybody to just stop using Trump and just adopt President Yamtets. I just think we're going to have a lot more fun and be able to laugh the next 4 years if we just keep making fun of him. Now, I got to meet him in the 90s.
Oh, wow.
He was a prick.
Of course he was.
I got to meet him outside of the Howard Stern show. He was...
back in his WWE days, right?
Yeah, he was misogynistic. The way he talked to women, you could just tell that this was a child who never experienced consequences. Like, this is a guy that never heard the word no. Like, he was that silver spoon, spoiled, I'm better than everybody else because my daddy made me this way, you know. It's he's a piece of work, and a lot of my friends living in the city I work in, it's a very conservative part of Vermont, and a very conservative, very homophobic, very racist part of Vermont. Yep,
you get outside of Burlington, there's a lot of that. That's it. I grew up in rural areas. It's like it turns red every year in my town that I grew up in.
I mean, first day I was at my job, a gentleman was talking about politics, and he said something to me, and he goes, Hitler wasn't all bad. And I said, my dad's mom is Jewish, and I said,
shut the fuck up.
I'm just gonna tell you I disagree with you.
What the hell? What the hell?
But,
I just, that one kills me. I can't believe, because
it's
how likely is it that someone in their family
somewhere was affected
who would roll in their grave to hear them say that.
This is the United States. We vote against our best interests on a regular basis.
Well, that's it. No one knows what's going on.
Yeah.
Look at Citizens United.
Oh, I know.
Like the name of Citizens United and its core purpose was to allow corporations to own the government. And the people will argue they don't know what the hell it was.
That was that bill was sponsored by Mitt Romney in his magic underwear.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And we'll talk about the skeeziest thing, to name it that, at a time where they were pushing so much propaganda.
Yep.
And That was what year was that? It was right in the middle of the whole Bush administration, in between, the weapons of mass destruction, and then him claiming that they won, right? Victory, we won. His banner that claims that they won something.
It was it was a troubling time.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember talking to my family in Europe after that, and they went, so when the company donates money to the politicians, you have to have a vote? So all the employees vote to say, yes, you can? I'm like, no. This guy, the CEO just gives the money. And they're like, they can't do that. I'm like, no, that's how it works. That's what the whole bill was for, was so that this guy who runs the company can donate the money, not everybody in the company, because they don't consider the workers part of it.
Right. Right. Which is so insane to the rest of the world.
Right.
Like, how could you have done this and call yourself a democracy?
Right.
Yeah. Well, it's just like the term lobbying. The term lobbying didn't exist until the American government coined it when the Rockefellers and J.P. Morgan donated massive amounts of money to the Senate and the House to reclassify lobbying you're donating money to political causes. That is now referred to as lobbying and will be legal. They used to punch each other in the head on the House floor when they were accused of bribery. in order
to prevent monopolies, there were laws that you could not conspire to, control prices. Like if you were the cable company, if you're Comcast and you send out a bill, a advertisement saying $9.99 a month, and then Verizon says no, $9.99 a month. It's not because they actually talk to each other, because they can't. So they started associations, the Cable Providers Association, where they all get together and say, let's all just put it in at $99.99 a month. Yeah. And, it's like,
right.
No competition anymore. It's, it's America. So this is where we live. Oh my God, I'm depressed.
I know, me too. It's been a hard frickin' week. It's been a hard 2 weeks. But. Yeah. We're going to wrap it back around to you because you're the important part of this. Like community and listening to your local musicians. This is how we solve this problem. I truly believe this. This problem is solvable, and it comes down to your neighbors. It comes down to disassociating with what the media bullshit is doing. Yeah. And what matters is your neighbors.
Yeah. And I think what people have to understand too is if like all of our musical heroes, all of the greats, from Jimi Hendrix to Stevie Ray Vaughan, Bonnie Raitt, all of the classic, Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, if they were to come out today with the same business, like in the same kind of way it happened when they became successful, it would not happen today. Like, you would not find Jimi Hendrix, somebody wouldn't find Jimi Hendrix playing in a club and go, holy shit, that was amazing. Right. You're going to see something on the internet and if it's a live performance, you can probably take it at face value that, holy shit, that was a great live performance. If it's that bedroom emo, electronica, produced, like, unless you see that dude live.
Right.
This is going to go viral, but he did none of the work that this other guy who's, he wrote the song, performed it live, mastered every minute of it. You got to get out and see it face to face because it's not real anywhere else. It's just not.
Yeah. Oh, and they started doing that. Didn't that get big in the 90s where they started overproducing and just marketing? Mm-hmm. That's it. They'd create a band. NSYNC was created by producers. That's the one I remember because I was a child and my sister loved NSYNC. And she had the video about how the producer was like, I have these 5 children. I'm going to make $1 billion. But one of them was like 35. The rest were like 16. Yeah. And they're like, we're going to make this band and we're going to market it and it's going to be the thing.
I got to see something cool. So I was in high school. The girl that I dated, her father was a drummer of Aerosmith. And, I was living in Marshfield, Massachusetts, which is a fishing village, and, going to school there. And, I got to spend a significant amount of time seeing those people. And then I got to learn about the business model. So Aerosmith had basically like fallen off the face of the earth. Nobody really even knew who the hell they were anymore. They were a good band. They weren't a great band, but they were a good band back in the 60s and 70s. All of them moderately talented. Like no one in that band was a genius. Nobody was a savant. It was all just blue collar dudes who, happened to start a band. So the Collins Management Group came in and said, listen, we are going to mass market you guys at a level never seen before. He goes, we are going to make you a household name. We are going to make merchandise. We're going to do this. We're going to put your name on things.
Right.
All you have to do is sign this contract. We own every aspect of you. We're going to write the music for you. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And they just said, well, we're broke. Okay, let's go. They released Pump. All of the songs were co-written. And then, they were marketed like crazy. Like it was amazing what they did. I mean, they got a ride named after them at Disneyland.
Right.
Clubs named after them. They're starting.
Yeah, was that one of the first like branded bands?
Yeah, it was
right, because that whole business model of making the band into the pop icon thing.
Right. Everything rock and roll kind of became those dudes.
Yep.
There was a little bit of a shakeup, in the 90s with some of the grunge stuff that happened, but Aerosmith seemed to kind of just they just had that business model and it worked, and it was kind of like the Britney Spears thing where like they rode the clock out all the way to Vegas. And they're like, okay, you're about to retire when you're doing a residency in Vegas. Like, it's like time to hang it up. But I feel like I got to grow up as like a gentleman savage. Like we got to do some wild and crazy stuff. And I want that for everybody today. You know, it's so, everything is just so, just watered down,
Yeah. Well, yeah, the commercialization thing, because the amount of people that, and I'm so guilty of this when I was younger, I'm so guilty of this, is I wouldn't go see a band unless I heard that band on the radio first. Like, you didn't support your local musicians. In fact, they had attitude about them. Like, I don't want to go see a local band. I don't want to go to my local pub and listen to the musician playing. Like, I don't know when the hell that started, but that was a thing even 15, 20 years ago where people started getting this chip on their shoulder about, well, MTV says, well, the top 50 says, or whatever, whatever the thing they're listening to that they take guidance from.
We talk quite a bit about the local scenes and the nepotism that sometimes destroys it. You'll get a local scene with different booking agents, club owners. They find these favorites because they're their buddies. Yeah. Now, the quality of the music isn't necessarily there, but they're buddies. So they push it and push it and push it. Meanwhile, there's all this super talent surrounded by it that's never able to get in on it because of the nepotism. We got to start giving talent a chance. We got to just start saying, holy shit, listen to these guys. Put them in front of people, for God's sake, Yep. And don't let what's happening at the national levels get its fingers into what we're doing locally.
Right. That's it, because you're neighbors.
Yeah.
And honestly, even people who express horrible opinions that make you want to hate them, chances are 95% of the things in this world you relate to them on. Like, they're your neighbors, right? Like, you probably shop at the same store. You probably feel the same way about a lot of shit.
I can't tell you how many people I have met who have opposing political positions with me at one point in their life, only to come back later on and say, I really didn't know what you were going through until it happened to me, and now I get it,
Right.
So,
right.
People change.
You got to give them the grace to do that, too. That's it. It's hard. It's really hard, especially when things start getting as messy and shitty as they've been lately.
Yeah.
But that's it. You've got to approach some of these people with a little bit of pity almost.
Yeah.
Because if they're coming from such a place of like ignorance and hate, it's usually like fear. Like these people are scared of something and they are so ignorant and they're just in this like dark place where like you not pity's the wrong word, but almost like empathize. Like I can't imagine how bad it's going to be that's what you resort to. And that gives you the room to give them grace and not just hate them.
Yeah.
Like,
I work with a bunch of people who are often, show a lean towards a racist point of view and homophobic point of view. And I was talking with one of them the other day, and we had a group of guys. There was like 5 of us, and I said, "Did you know that 1 in 5 men is gay?" And then I looked at this particular gentleman, and I said, "And I really hope it's you because you're the hot one." and then the look on this guy's face took him a second, and he just kind of, before he went, oh wait, like,
right,
I'm like,
right, he's
hey,
like actually scared of something, which is ridiculous, right? Yeah. But that's it. Right. Like they have a fear that drives a hatred that's just.
It just doesn't make sense.
Right. It doesn't. To you and I, it makes no sense, but we aren't that ignorant. I almost think of them as kids, right? You can't hold a kid, when they're really young and they don't know. They just don't know. You got to give them that, like, it's okay that you don't know.
You'll come around.
Right. You'll exactly. Yeah. And I think if we can all kind of approach the attitude more like that, maybe we all can grow. Maybe we could all take a little bit, learn a little, and stay informed, which is really hard.
I hear you.
Oh man, but well, we got to get you up here playing in Burlington because
I'd like to.
Yeah, we got to get you on Rocket Shop. I'll talk to Abby. I think she'd probably welcome you as well as the band if you guys could come play here. I know.
Oh, that would be killer.
Right, because the space is for that exact thing. As they set it up and they play it on the stream and give you your dues, and it's very formal. I'm obviously a very informal podcaster. I love conversations. This has been a really fun conversation. I think we are. Oh, we're at 1 hour and 23 minutes. That's insane.
Yep.
But it's been really, really fun talking with you. I really enjoyed your single. Reese, what was the single that came out today?
Leaving Texas,
which you sent me the YouTube link. Is that the best place to listen to it, or do you have somewhere else?
Well, it's on all the streaming platforms. I work through CD Baby, and they release it to everywhere. So, it's on the Spotify. I try to tell people not to go there and not support that. But
is it on Bandcamp?
It's on Bandcamp.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on Bandcamp, Spotify, YouTube. All the Apple.
Is it on your own website as well?
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, because you've got kmwkb.com.
Yeah, that's where you can
your own official site.
Buy our merch and all that jazz, and
right. And type in Kristian Montgomery and the Winterkill Band and go to Kristian's website. Let's start just pushing that. Go to your website and buy stuff from there. Like listen there or listen on the sites that actually...
That would be awesome.
Right, that help you out. That's important. So you're March 15th?
March 15th, the album is officially out. And then we're kind of off to the races, starting to book and get our spring and summer stuff going. So we might do a show in Manchester, Vermont in April. We'll see what happens.
Where in Manchester? That's I need to go down there.
At the Roundhouse. It's a local pub that's got this giant room that was meant to play rock and roll and wasn't used, and so we've kind of helped them build that crowd back.
Cool.
So,
very cool.
Yeah,
the Roundhouse. Nice, awesome. You have so many albums out already. Do you want to list them again? Do you want to
sure
list whatever you want? This is your time.
I've got the Gravel Church, Prince of Poverty, A Heaven for Heretics, Lower County Outlaw, and Prophets of the Apocalypse. That's it. For now,
that's a lot of music. That's impressive in only 5 short years.
Yeah,
that's really impressive. So,
And if people wanted to, they could vote. If you go to the Listen Up Music Awards, we're up for Americana and Country Act of the Year. So it'd be great if people would vote. They just put Kristian Montgomery down instead of the Winterkill Band. I don't know why, but it represents us all.
Right.
You know, I am them. They're me.
And I will link that on the top of our show notes page, as well as links to all of your stuff, starting with your main website that you actually own, which is the most important, in my opinion. But yes, you're on Spotify, you're on Bandcamp, you're on YouTube, you're on all of these things.
Yep.
TikTok for now.
Yeah, for now.
TikTok for now. Awesome. Is there anything else that you'd like to say, Kristian?
Not just, I appreciate you having me on, and this is cool, and I would love to come to Burlington more often.
We're going to hook you up. I'm going to work on that.
I'm a big Trader Joe's guy.
And we have the one, right? Is there one down where you're at?
No. We come up here to go to Trader Joe's, so...
Well, there you go. Yeah. Perfect. We'll get you with a band, and you can make a Trader Joe's trip at the same time. Okay. Thank you so much, Kristian, for coming on the show.
You're very welcome.
Really awesome talking with you today. The show notes are going to be at vermonttalks.com/53 for this episode, and that's going to get you to everything that Kristian's got online. Thank you all for listening, and have a great day.
Woohoo!
Woo! Thanks so much for listening to the end of the show. Subscribe to Vermont Talks on your favorite podcasting platform. You can find me on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all over the web. Contact Becca at vermonttalks.com if you'd like to be interviewed or if you know someone who should be. Thanks so much to Jason Baker for creating the show music. The views and opinions expressed by the guests are those of the individuals and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Vermont Talks. Any content or statements provided by our guests are of their opinion and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, anyone, or anything. And that's what was new in the 802. Have a great day.